Hi, this is Jeff, workshop to GB Davis in Noblesville, Indiana. I'm in the print shop today. We're going to talk about how some construction things that you can do within your journals to make them a little more playful, a little more interesting, and to include some of those things that you pick up in the field, things like leaves or ferns or small bones, whatever it is that you gather in the field that you want to insert in your journal. I'm going to show you some ways to do that. I started this lesson yesterday, and technology got the better of me. I was trying to use the document camera that I bought for the class, and it just wasn't up to par. So I stopped. It was first thing in the morning. I stopped, and I figured out a way to get my my really nice Canon to talk to a computer. So that's what you're watching now. It allows me to switch back. Right now you're seeing me through the computer, but we're going to switch to a much better visual when you're down on my work surface. I think it was always dark and fuzzy and not contrasty enough to really see what you need to see when you're doing fine work and artwork. So that being said, let me give you a tour of the book that I put together yesterday during the film that was doomed and was never going to work. It's so easy. I just click and flip. There we are. So now it won't be that easy on Zoom. It's okay here today. So this is the journal you've probably seen. This is the sample journal that I made for the book art class that I'm teaching beginning the first week of June. And this is identical to the one I did in the giveaway this week. In fact, this might be the giveaway this week. I'm not sure. This is the other one we work on. And the first thing I want to talk about is just gluing something on the front. These are my hang tags from the things that I sell, my price tags, and I have these printed. I print them on manila hang tags. On the other side, they have information. On the top, they say GB Davis Folk Art. My art sold under GB Davis Folk Art. And I just slap that on there. And I print lots and lots of different images that are really good to just slap on. I'll explain to you how you do that. So a customer just asked for a series of these to paste into books. I'm looking at my note cards. You've seen these because I've used them in lessons. I have these lobster note cards, goldfish note cards. I have lots of different things that I print. And you can just cut them off and put them on the front of your notebook. So the way I would recommend you do this on a paper notebook particularly, this is on boards, it's a hardback book. I just use a glue stick. Paste works. The paste I use, let's see if I can do this without spilling it, is Yes. Look at this, I can even focus on that. Bam. So this is Yes paste. I get this on Amazon. I used to get it from specialty stores. It was hard to get. It's not anymore. Delivered to your door. Cost about $10 a pint. Lasts quite a while. I recommend you refrigerate it after a while. It does kind of get rancid because it is wheat paste, but it takes a long time. Unlike if you made wheat paste at home or using wallpaper paste, you go rancid really quickly. This is good stuff. It does need to be watered down. You need to add a little bit of water to it. So here we are back at this journal. Let me give you a quick tour. So this is a concertina book or an accordion book. And an accordion book means it opens and closes like an accordion. I've got an accordion in the other room. I'm tempted to go get it, but you wouldn't want to hear me play it. I'm moving some tools out of the way off camera. So this can open like a regular book. You can just turn the pages. But what's cool is you can also open pages in the other direction. And those are completely different pages. You can open it by pulling it out. And again, you've got two sides. And you can arrange it for display or for reading or whatever you end up doing with it. You can arrange it in lots of interesting ways. This is when I need yet another camera because you need to see it from back where I'm standing. But there are lots of different ways you can imagine that this book can be arranged. It makes a great journal because it tells a story. So I would be tempted, if I were going on a canoe trip with kids or adults, but I'm like thinking about kids, wouldn't this be a great canoe journal? Day 1, day 2, day 3. It works linearly, just like a trip does. You could each day could be a page, could be a day or a time of day, and you could actually draw features of the river, and it would travel along just like your journey on the river. And then that would be really, really kind of fun to do. You could also just journal like you do ordinarily, or you could look at it another way. It's a vertical book. You start writing and write across. And this book would hang for display. We could even put a ribbon in the binding. We can't do that now, but we could talk about that. So to start, I just printed out this turkey and stuck it on top. And you could do that. This is what I did on the giveaway last week. I have it here. I did the same thing with this cowbird. I like frames, I like shadows, so I cut that frame about a 1/60 of an inch bigger. I don't like things straight all the time. I like it to be a little playful. Also, if you have to get everything straight, it gets really finicky, and if something's wrong, your eye just bangs to it. So if you keep everything just a little crooked, you don't have to worry about that. So back to this. So here are the structures in here. I'm going to show you what they are, and then I'm going to show you how I did them. I would wish I'd put a shadow around that, and I can. I can just paint this with water. It'd take a while. It would soak in. It would loosen the paste. It's all reversible. I could pull it off. I could put a frame on there. I could cut out another one of these. I probably would destroy that one, but I could cut another one out and put it on there. Okay, so let's talk about what's in here. So the end papers, again, you probably couldn't, well, I guess you could cut these and put them over existing end papers. This is a map of the Adirondacks, and it's a really early map, pre-1893, and I own this map. I found it in an antique store, and I had a plate cut, so I could print it exactly like it was originally printed, except this time I did it in dark green. So I have an envelope here with a meadowlark stuck inside. There's the poor meadowlark that's living in an envelope. I turn the page, and there's nothing in this envelope, but it's just a simple coin envelope. I think we all know how to do that. This envelope has a nuthatch in it. But rather than gluing this one, it's sewn into the binding. You can see there are 3 stitches down here. In order to turn the binding over, you would see that there is a knot. And you can see where those stitches come through. Since I can focus, let's do that. Ha-ha! Wonderful. Okay? Remember, you have the whole other side of this book to play with, too. This is a pamphlet. A pamphlet is a classic book. It's the same 3-hole stitch that I used for the envelope, and I just bound this right through the book. But this is a book within a book. So it would be fun to do some kind of pretext, something leading up to a story or something important, and then documenting it in here, and then something, and afterward. I don't know, isn't that pretty paper? And you can make this even prettier by folding the same paper in so you get that color on both sides. And then here I took a glassine envelope and, no I didn't, that's not what I did here. I put a piece of glassine overlay here. So I tacked in this bobolink. I tipped in this page. I'll talk to you about what tipping means so that you can view the bobolink with and without the diagrams over it. Wouldn't that be fun to do with a flower and label the parts of a flower or something that's more technical? This is what I had on hand, so this is what I used. You can see the original image through it, but you can lift it off and see the image without being encumbered by the text around it. And that's what I put into this book. So I just finished this book, and I think this probably will be the giveaway. There's some paste on the cover. That happens. I'm searching around for a paper towel, damp paper towel, and that paste, this is the nice thing about this paste, it just wipes off. It wiped off, it's done, it's gone. And this is a concertina book. It goes the other way, I'd forgotten that. I am limited on materials. I just made all the kits for this class. I have no board left, so I had to use the pieces of board that I had in my scrap box. But you can see we've got a nice accordion book here. Again, you can open it up here, it makes a star, or there's actually a carousel book that's constructed much like that. And a nice thing about it too is it has 2 sides. You could do 2 books in one. I've put ribbons in both sides, so you tie it, it opens like a book. You tie it the other side, it opens like a book. Because it is a book. So let's talk first of all, how are we going to put something on the cover? So I'm going to my scrap box. I'm going to see if I can find a piece of black or other contrasting. There's a red, I don't like that on there. Looking for black, I found black. Because there's a lot of black in that print. This is a French marbled paper. It's made with, it's a dark blue paper. This blue in here is the original color. And all the other colors you see are paint that's floated on a pan of water, even the metallics, and then a piece of paper, and it's manipulated. This water is stirred gently in many different ways with special tools. And a piece of paper is laid on it, and then it's pulled off. My sister's a marbler. This isn't her paper, but I've been able to do this with her, and it's an amazing process. I'm running out of these cards. This is the obvious one we need to use. Look at those colors. They're exactly the right colors for this book. This is the black-throated blue warbler. These were published by Arm & Hammer. Let me get this up here so you can see. These are beautiful. They're lithographs. They're beautifully printed. I buy them at antique stores. I found this package on Etsy. They were $1 each. They make wonderful little inclusions. On the back, it's called Useful Birds of America, the 3rd series. And it tells you all about the bird. And it tells you a little bit about Arm & Hammer baking soda. These would have come in a box of Arm & Hammer baking soda. Don't you wish they still did? I think those colors are magnificent on there. So I'm going to take this paper, I'm going to take a ruler first and measure this. And it is about 2 by 3. It's going to oversize it a bit, and I'm okay with that. I'm over to paper cutter adjacent. I'm going to cut a piece that's 2 by 3. See what we can do with that. See if that makes a good frame. So we would cock it, and then we would drop this on here, something like that. And the black kind of disappears, but I know it's there, and I suspect you do too. I am loving this. Look at that. That's camera, my friends. All right, so let me show you how to do that. You can use paste. I recommend it before you use a glue stick. Let's stick to that just because it's what I said. This paper is glitter on one side, not the other. I guess we'll put the glitter side up. Isn't much glitter. Back this out, give you some so you can see what I'm doing. This is called a paste paper. It just means scrap paper so you don't get paste on your work surface. I'm working on a piece of cardboard just because my bench is dirty. It was leaving stains on the paper. And I didn't like the contrast in the camera, so this works really well for now. I've got another idea for class. So there we go. I've gotten that completely pasted. You start in the middle, you work your way out and go off of every edge. That way you know every edge is going to be tacked down really, really well. This is an awl. Awl is the only tool I know that's used in every one of my disciplines. So I'm going to pull that up with the awl. I get rid of this so I don't use it again. And I'm going to figure out where I want this, and I just want it cocked on the cover. I'm not going to be particular about it. I do want to make sure it's going to open the right way, and I didn't. Woo! Okay. So I guess it's going to be on the bottom of the page. Got a little paste on here, so I'm going to mop that up. Then you want to get it under weight. So what I recommend you do at home is you just get a board. This is plywood board, and I'd put it on there, and I would go ahead and put a weight on it. Bricks work fine, rocks work fine, a pile of dictionaries, a pile of heavy books works fine. I am lucky enough in this studio that I have the tool. I have a book press behind me, so I'm going to throw it in a book press. I'm putting wax paper on it in case there's any glue that squeezes out. I don't think there will be, but if there is, sometimes it gets hard to get off the board. So here we are in the press. Sorry I don't have a picture of that. We'll find a way to drop one in there later, maybe. And I'm going to kiss it or nip it. I'm going to just give it a little tiny, just a lot of pressure for an instant. And what that'll do is knock this perfectly flat. It's tons and tons of pressure. So there we've got it really nice and flat. It's textured paper, so it's not perfectly flat. Now the card, I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Flip that over. Start in the middle, and you paste off the ends. Oops, I was going to use a glue stick. That's all right. It's the same thing with a paste. It's just a little messier, and there's a lot more of it. I'm going to take that and cock it at a little higher angle so you can see the black around it. And since I used that paste, I need to make sure I get a lot of it mopped off. A wet rag, clean water, and this is just a clean paper towel. Any paste you leave on there kind of gets hard to clean up later. Water doesn't hurt at all. Paper's born in water. So I'm going to put this on the boards again. And kiss it. So back here at the press. Give it a kiss. Look at that. Ready to go. Beautiful thing. So there's how you would put something on the front. If you were to take a letterpress class with me, you could print anything you wanted. You could find some clip art, and we kind of use clip art in a trite way, but clip art I have is a lot of it's antique and really classic. So there's that. Now we want to figure out what to do inside of here. Let's a little paste in there still. It's fresh. Sometimes you have to wipe them out a few times. Let's go ahead and put a glassine envelope in here. I didn't do this on the last one, but I think I like the idea of putting something behind it. Maybe. I don't know if I have the right paper, so let's see what I've got stuff. It's awful. That's tempting, isn't it? But I think that's too much. Sure is pretty. I'm really looking for a little more of that black. Not big enough. Get this piece not big enough. I guess we're not going to. Sorry to waste your time. So you want to make sure the flap's up so you can put things. You want to make sure the flap's up so you can put things in it. Let me back out. We're way in too tight. This has got paste on it, so I'm throwing it away. When I say throwing it away, it means it's going to recycle. It all gets recycled. I'm going to use the glue stick on this. I'm going to go down both sides. The reason I'm going down the sides is because there are 2 layers, 3 layers of paper, 2 layers of paper, because the envelope folds back there and it's thicker. And a glob of glue or something that's messy back there isn't going to be very visible. There's a lot of room to cant that, so I'm going to just put that in there perfectly straight. And I'm not going to put this in the press because I don't want to take the time, but I'm going to put a weight on it for just a few minutes. This is another reason to use this cardboard. I can move the whole work area, get it under the camera. So that's going to sit under there for a few minutes. Why that does that, I need to find a piece of paper that I forgot to get. So I'm over on my cutting table and I've got a piece of paper that's we're going to use to make a pamphlet. So I've got, these are the pages we're going to use. Let's use 1, 2, 3, 4, let's use 6. It gives us 12 pages. So I'm going to pull those out. And I guess this is sat here long enough. Let's get this out of the way. I'll show you how to make a pamphlet. Tools out of the way. Like on the video there, you have no mess. I have mess all around me. Make sure these are probably a little bigger than I want, so I'm going to cut them a little smaller. So I'm going to paper cutter that's adjacent. And I'm going to fold each of these. So to fold paper, and I know most of you fold paper a very long time, but you're going to line up the edges, the free edges, the 4 edges, pin them down with your fingers, and then this is the bone folder, and you're going to diagonally sweep it both directions, and that gives you a precise fold and a crisp fold. Now you could take and fold all these pages over at once, but I bet you can think of a good reason not to. I just slipped it inside the other one. If you fold a bunch of papers over together, you don't get a nice crisp fold. You get a big rounded bunchy fold, and I want this to be crisp and clean because my work is crisp and clean. I keep bumping that camera. Is that causing a problem? I don't think it is. This new setup is going to take getting used to. I can't get my head in quite as tight. If I move this back, you can still see it. I can still see it, so we're good. Toss that in there. I'm not pushing down really hard. In the beginning I did end up embossing that paper, giving it a really glazed, shiny, slick line. I dropped that bone folder, but I've got another one. All right, so here we have the signature for this pamphlet, and I'm going to measure for the cover now. It's 4, so we're going to go 4 1/8 by 2 5/8. I'm going to write those down because I've already forgotten them. 2 5/8. 4 1/8. So the 2 5/8 has to be double. So let's just go ahead and open that up. So that's 5. It's going to be 5 1/4. And like about 1/8 of an inch overlap in every direction. So I'm walking over here to this piece of paper. I'll be with you in a minute. So I roughly cut this out. I just took one of the pages, opened it up, laid it on there, and cut around it. I know this line's perfectly straight. So I'm over at the paper cutter. At home, you'd use a steel ruler and a razor blade. And I'm just going to make sure that these things are nice and clean. Lost my dimensions. There they are. There's that 5 1/4. 4 1/8. So there's that. That will be our cover. We're going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to fold it in half and line up the 4 edges with my fingers. Then with a bone folder, diagonally in both directions. Get this nice, crisp, clean. You can go over it. It's not going to hurt. Just don't go over the bone folder 30 times. And there is our pamphlet. Now, pamphlets are sewn together with 3 stitches. And this is going to get a little persnickety. I need a tool. This is called the sewing cradle. And it is a cradle. It's got an open book will lay right in it. See if we can get back out of this. That's as far as we're going to go. See my mess. So we've got this in here, that glassine envelope there. I'm going to drop this down in here. And it's a little messy because the pages aren't as deep. And I'm going to center this in here. If you were doing this in a class, I would have you get paper clips, attach it all together with paper clips, but I'm trying to move quickly. So you need an odd number of holes. I've been using 3. I'm going to do 3 here, 1 roughly in the center, and 1 above it, and 1 below it, all the way through. There you go, 1, 2, 3. Make them nice and big so you can see where they are. Now I'm going to use thread, and where you start is where it ends. So if I start in this hole, you can see here, we're going to end there, and that's going to put the knot right in that spot, and I'm okay with that. See, I got a little bit of paste. A pasty finger right there. We can wash that off. You don't want to get a lather on there because paper buckles if it gets too wet, but we can wash it off. And it's just paste. So now when you pull stitches, let's make sure we get this nice. This is where I knew yesterday my old setup wasn't going to work because you couldn't see it. When you pull stitches, don't pull up like you might sewing. Pull straight out. Because if you pull up, I think you can probably predict what's going to happen. It's going to tear right through the paper. So I skipped that middle hole, went to that end hole. Now I'm going to go underneath, and I'm going to come up, find the hole first, come up on the other side, drop the needle. I had it, drop the needle. Come up on that other side, again pulling with the paper, and then you want to just tie it off. I don't want a big bulky knot in here. Nobody's going to be yanking on it. So I'm just going to put 1 overhand knot in there. I wouldn't tie a boat with that, but we'll hold this unless somebody starts pulling on it. That spot's driving me crazy. So let's wipe that off. Again, it's just paste. It's not a wet rag, it's a damp rag. So there, now we've got this sewn into the signature. Put the cuckoo in here so he looks like he's okay. I've got a dead battery. This is new, so I got to turn off my back. He thinks I'm talking to you because I am. So this is me learning. I wasn't sure how long the battery would last. That was 24 minutes. Probably wasn't fresh when I started. I don't think this is too awkward. I don't think somebody might want to run to go to get a drink of water or something, but I don't think it's going to cause anybody to be upset. All right. Okay, I think we'll be back in just a moment. It'll take for a minute for it's recognizing the camera. Still not there. It will be. Unless I put another dead battery in it. Is that possible? Nope. There it goes. Unfortunately, I opened some software I don't need. Almost. I'm going to get better. I promise. I think we're there. All right. Dropped a washer in my book. So, we've got the cuckoo in here now. We've got the cover. We've got a cuckoo in a glassine envelope. We have a pamphlet sewn in. Let's, 2 more spaces. Let's go ahead and sew in a. I'd love to sew it in that way, but the book's not big enough. Let's sew in a envelope, and then we can talk about doing an overlay. I didn't pre-cut that. Maybe I'll pause and come back. Okay, so this goes exactly like you would do the pamphlet. You're just going to reach down inside an envelope to do it. So I'm going to drop this down in the frame. So if I fold this back, maybe it'll sit in here. It will not. Let's make sure we push it down in there. So I'm going to go in the middle. We'll hold everything together. In the middle. About an inch on either side. I'm just eyeballing it just to keep things moving. If this were a real book, if this was a book I'd be doing for sale for a client, a gift, I would have measured all that. This is just a demonstration. I've got to cut some more thread. Bear with me for a moment. So when you sew leather or books, there's a way to thread the needle. So I'm just going to thread the needle like you would any other needle, but instead of doubling it up, you come back. So I'm going back in the short tail, and I'm going to split the strands and get right between some of the strands. I got 2 or 3 on either side, and I'm going to pull that back over the head and then snug it up. And that gives you very little bulk behind the needle. In fact, it's smaller than the head. And it makes it real easy to sew through leather and paper. Okay. This is giving me fits, but we're going to be fine. We've done harder things than this, haven't we? All right, so there. Down through there. Now, I made a big mistake. Can I tie a knot in there? No, Mr. Davis, you cannot tie a knot in there. So we're going to have to come from the outside, because remember, I'm going to get this out of the way now. Remember, the knot is where you start. The knot always ends up where you started. So I'm going to come up through the middle. And I'm going to go down through. Doesn't matter. I go down or to the one that's closer to the bottom of the book or the top. It doesn't matter. Getting my big hands in these little envelopes. I can do it. I've done it before. Did it yesterday. There we go. Ah. I got paste on my fingers and the needle stuck to my fingers. All right. So now we're going to pull that through. Remember, don't pull perpendicular paper, pull parallel to paper. I'm going to flip around the other side. see we've got these 3 holes. I'm going to go through the one that's closest to the top, and I'm already coming up in the envelope. Hooray. Now I can't pull that parallel to the paper, so I don't pull it hard. I'm just going to pull it snug. I'm going to go down through that middle hole. You can see the stitches have all pulled up in there. Now I'm going to flip here, make sure you get a thread on either side, and I don't, so this one's got to switch sides. And I pull parallel to there. I'm going to give that an overhand knot. I could give it a bow, you can give it a double knot, it doesn't matter. I'm just not going to, just trying to do this quickly. I like to use a razor blade, I can do them both quickly, they're going to be in the same place. And there's that. So now, and you know, you probably want to pull those tails opposite directions. There we go. So now you've got another little envelope that you could put a sample in and put a label to it. In fact, I could teach you how to make a hinge that's like an accordion book, or a really tight accordion book, where you could make a whole book that was nothing but glassine envelopes, which would be really a delightful thing to have, to share a collection. Okay, I'm going to step away. I'm going to pause you for a moment. I will be back. I need to cut a piece of paper. All right, I'm back. It's going all of 3 minutes. So I've cut a piece of glassine that's the same size as these pages. Let's see if there's a better place than in the back. I think we're going to go all the way to the front again and show you how you could use a glassine to do an overlay. So let's put a goldfish in here. It's too big. We're doing it anyway. So I'm going to cut the goldfish, and we're just going to glue that. I guess we'll go this way. I'm going to use the glue stick because I don't want a lot of moisture in here. Piece of paste paper. So I want to go all the way to the edge. You want to go off the edge so you know that everything is sealed down. I'm going to insert this here. It would be nice to put something around it like a frame. Might if I had more time. You could argue I have all the time in the world, but I really want to get this out today because I promised to you folks that you'd hear from me. I'm not even able to follow up on Facebook page. I feel terribly about that. All right, so we've put that in, and now I'm going to leave it this way. It's a little awkward that it's sideways. Yeah, I'm going to leave it this way, and I'm going to just tip it in from the top. Usually you tip it from the side. Let's go ahead and do that. So tipping is the way pages are added to books after they've been bound. And you've seen tipped pages. If you've ever looked at old books where they've got colored plates, usually lithographs or engravings, and they have a piece of vellum or a piece of glassine over it to protect it. And we're doing that with the glassine. Not to protect it in this case, but though to have an interesting overlay. So I want to just have the very, very, very edge of that paper and have glue on it. So I'm going to mask it just like you would if you were painting. So there's about maybe 3/8 of an inch showing, and I'm going to run the glue stick down that. So I know that's the only place that there's any glue. Then I'm going to carefully lay that in right at the fold. And I know that I dropped it and added a little piece of paste in here, so I'm going to wipe things down just a little bit. So now we have an overlay. I'm going to kiss this because we have a lot of things we've glued in here and not done it. It's getting puffy. That's a nice thing about an accordion book is it can take some things stuck inside of it. A lot of books can't. If you were to do a traditional book, this is with a sewn binding, a codex, or even a Japanese stab binding, we'd have to put in, let's switch cameras since I can do this quickly. So we're doing a Japanese stab binding, which is something like this. This is a pretty tight binding. It makes a really nice journal. You can open it up and you can write in it. It's nice for writing sideways, or like this. But it's not good to mount things in because it binds up, and the cover would start pushing up and would actually break the hinge that's inside of here. And you've probably done that if you put things in nice old books. If you put too many things, like remember when you were in high school and you had this, you might have been that kid, I probably was. There are a lot of kids just folded papers and folded papers and put them in their books until they were bulging. Did terrible things to their spines. So to take care of that, we stub it. So if we're going to make an album from the beginning that we're going to put something like leaves or twigs or pressings in, we would put cardstock or thick paper like every other page, and we'd cut them really short. They would be in the binding, but they wouldn't be out in the block. So actually, a brand new book would be thick here, and it would actually slant down because there would be half the number of pages in the body that there are in the spine, and that would accommodate you being able to put things like postcards and sticks and leaves or whatever your collection is. The accordion book paste on here again. This is the way we wash our paste. The accordion book does that automatically. You know, you put things in it, it just gets thicker. And since it's not bound on one side or the other, it doesn't get so tight that it can't function. If we were really thinking things through, we could put these inclusions on every other page. Finding a lot more pages. There we are. Look at that. You can see everything we've done in there. You see why we don't use computer cameras? Look how washed out that is. So let's get this back on the table and look at it and get things finished up. All right, so let's come in fairly tight. There we go. Here is our black-throated blue warbler notebook, or accordion book. So we've got these nice marbled papers. We've got the Arm & Hammer card that's applied to the front. We open it up inside, and we have a piece of glassine that's been tipped over this image. And what you can do on this is we can now tip. I'm going to turn it sideways, but you could label the parts of this of the specimen. I suggest you use a permanent marker, and I suggest you leave it sit for a minute, because glassine doesn't take ink very well at all. It does take ink. It actually prints really well. It just takes a very, very, very long time for it to dry or to set. But we can mark dorsal fin, caudal fin. We can name all these things. Gills. I don't know what you're interested in, but we could do that. You could even put colors in these overlays. And then you can look at it, and there's the image as it originally was, and here it is labeled. So we've got that, and we've got a cuckoo in this glassine envelope, and we can pull him out, a little special treasure. You can just fill it with text and drawings around the outside. And I'd looked at this paper, I probably would have put it in the other direction, but it's not bad. I don't think, the paper's not directional overall. I think that little section is, because if you flip it over, pretty right side up. We've got a sewn in glassine envelope, and I guess that's what we have. So these are some of the things that you can do to personalize your journal. You can make pocket folders in these pages. You can use all kinds of others. We didn't even talk about these coin folds, these coin envelopes, but these are easy. Just glue it in there, and you've got and label on the outside what you've got in there. I do this with glue stick too. This is not something I'd want to put a lot of paste on. Bam, done. And that's where so you can have all kinds of things in here. So there's all kinds of adventures you could have. And think of the papers you could pick. If you've ever been to a specialty paper store, amazing stuff. So anyway, there is my quick lesson, I hope, on how you can personalize your journal. I know I showed this to you in a stab binding, but a lot of these things can work in any journal, in a moleskin or hardback journal, and they can be adapted. Maybe you can think a little bit out of the box about ways to do this. If you're looking for paper like the glassine and the marbled paper that comes from Dolphin Papers, that's in Franklin, Indiana. If you are looking for the Arm & Hammer birds, I find those on eBay and Etsy. They're called Useful Birds of America. Generally very inexpensive. If you are looking for glassing envelopes, I got them on Amazon, and I looked for glassing envelopes and found some very expensive ones, and I looked for stamp collecting envelopes, and they were very reasonable. I bought 100 for, I don't know, $6, $8, something like that. The thread I use is Maine thread. It's a polyester thread that's made in Maine. I get it at a leather shop in Indianapolis, but it's available online all over the place. I don't know what else. I think that's all you need to know. If you have any questions, it's Jeff Davis at, come back to me, Jeff Davis at the workshops of GB Davis in Noblesville, Indiana. We do letterpress, book arts, journaling, some drawing, a lot of wood carving, some woodworking and leatherwork. So if you're interested in any of those kind of things, those are my disciplines. And I'm a teacher first, so let me know. Happy to help you out. Can't wait to get this print shop open. 1895 golden pearl that just runs like a dog toys. We got dogs. Runs like a dream. We got a Craftsman student press, lots of furniture, lots of type.